Welcome to Building Better Relationships with Chuck and Barb Lewis, equipping listeners and viewers with the biblical tools to conquer the difficulties faced in this life. Chuck has practiced crisis intervention since the 1980s and has been in ministry together with his wife Barb for over 20 years. They've taken the countless lessons and the knowledge they've acquired and have put them into this life skills class to share with you. We hope this blesses you.
Well, hello again. I'm Pastor Chuck Lewis, and this is my wife,
I'm Barbara.
Barbara. Yeah. And I must say, you are looking absolutely gorgeous today. I get to be married to this woman.
Oh.
Isn't it amazing?
Yes,
You know,
ma'am.
and I didn't do one thing to deserve that. That's all the grace and mercy of God. So if you're believing God for a godly mate, guess what? You have to be godly to attract a godly mate, but you can believe for that, and we believe that God will send you that because He sent us to each other, didn't He?
He did, and I'm so blessed to receive all the honor and love that Chuck gives me. So, thank you, Jesus.
Absolutely, and she does the same for me. So today's topic is,
What to do if you've lost respect for your spouse?
wow, that's a big one.
It is. It's a tough question.
Because, you know, over the years of being in ministry full time for 51 years, it's amazing that it's been that long. And I'd like to say I haven't aged at all. That's denial is not just a river in Egypt, right? But you know, I've run into a lot of couples that have been experiencing that very problem where one of them has lost respect for the other, or they both have lost respect for each other.
I mean, even to the point sometimes of feeling contempt for the other person.
Yeah, and that's huge because, you know, God really designed our relationships to be one in the spirit as well as the flesh, and you know, it's hard to be one when you're resenting each other. I don't know that it's even possible.
Right, and that's the key. Usually there's unresolved resentments and anger that have caused people to feel disrespect for each other, and it doesn't get resolved, and so they're angry, and then they treat their spouse with disrespect, so it's kind of a downward cycle.
Right, and you know, the thing is, you know, when we have been wounded by the other person, we can either do one of two things. We can either deal with that resentment, and that means talking through it. I'm not talking about just ignoring it, because you can't ignore it, you know. I mean, it's like hitting your thumb with a hammer and acting like it doesn't hurt. Well, that's
Not really
impossible.
possible.
You know, and hurts are real, and emotional hurts are real. So we're not talking about denying them and just acting like everything's just fine and we love Jesus and we just forgive and we forget, and you know, it's not about that. It's about going through the process so that we can forgive. I don't know that some things we'll ever forget, but you can forgive to where you're not affected by it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, I think that people use that resentment and anger as an excuse to treat the other person the same way. And you know,
Right.
you're not, you know, in Ephesians 4, it talks a lot about how we're supposed to treat each other, and I think Ephesians 5, and God says that men are supposed to love their wives, not if they deserve it, and women are supposed to respect their husbands, not if they deserve it. It just says we're supposed to do it. So as an act of obedience to the Lord, we're supposed to treat each other in a kind and loving way. And I have a friend that loves acronyms, and she likes JBK, just be kind. And so we should just be kind all the time, no matter what. And another saying that we like is say what you mean what you say, and don't say it mean. And you've probably heard the first two lines of that, but not the don't say it mean.
Yeah.
Because you need to have a voice, and that's how to keep resentments down, is by having a voice about what's going on. but you need to say it in a kind and respectful way. And if you're already on that downward spiral and there's disrespect on both sides going on with you and your spouse, it has to begin with somebody. Somebody's got to take responsibility for how you're treating the other person, not waiting for them to treat you with respect so that you can respond in kind. Let it begin with you.
Let it begin with you. Yeah, and you could be watching today and saying, but you don't understand what they did to me. And you don't understand. I mean, they were unfaithful to me. And how can I just act like everything's okay again? It's a process of healing. It's a process of working through that. And you might need a professional counselor to help you walk through that with them, because sometimes they've already been trained to go the direction that maybe you don't even think about going. But you need to be, it's like a procedure. If you need surgery, that is what's needed, and that's a procedure. And sometimes emotionally we need surgery as well. So, when there's been unfaithfulness or there's been something that's done to you that has really been disastrous, boy, I mean, we could go on and on with the examples, but the fact is, what has happened to you. So we can either live like a victim then, or begin to process that with somebody and get through it. Because the problem with living like a victim is it turns us sometimes, not always, but sometimes it turns the victim into a perpetrator.
Right.
You go, well, what are you talking about? Well, we can be a victim so long that we begin to resent that person so badly that we take it out on them by not only not forgiving them, but treating them with disrespect too.
Right.
And say, well, they've treated me with disrespect when they were unfaithful or they went out on me or whatever. So that's not okay. But it's not okay for the victim also to be a perpetrator, right, and begin to treat them with disrespect as well.
Right. So we're going to talk about how to regain respect for each other.
How do you do that once it's been gone?
Yeah, so you don't want to be stuck on an offense. And I want to share, I had a really big fight with one of my siblings years ago, probably 20 years ago. And this fight went on for months and months. And as it went on, we became aware that it wasn't just what had happened that day, but it went clear back to our childhood. And I remember really seeking the Lord about that, and it took time for us to get past our anger. And I totally felt like the victim. I didn't feel like I had done anything wrong. And so when my sister and I got together to talk about it, she told me the things that I had done that hurt her. And I was really surprised to hear that, because I really thought it was all about her hurting me and that I was the innocent victim.
Yeah.
But when she told me the things that I did to hurt her, boy, I was really surprised to hear that. And because I had enough maturity under my belt to tell her how sorry I was that I had done that I had been so selfish and involved with my own life, that I didn't realize all that she was going through. And when I was able to own the things that she had resentments against me for, then she would take responsibility for the things that I had resentments against her for.
Right.
So it started with me taking responsibility for what I did.
And that must have been hard, because you're feeling like, well, she's the one that perpetrated on me, so why should I be the one to do anything about that?
Well, that's what I thought until I heard her side.
Yeah.
And in Proverbs it says that it's a folly to answer a matter before you've heard both sides. And I needed to hear where she was coming from, and she had legitimate things to say to me that had hurt her, and I'm just thankful that I was able to take responsibility for the part I did, because it led to us doing a lot of healing in our relationship, and both of us being able to own what we did, and telling each other that we were sorry, and could we forgive each other for what we had done. I mean, there were sins of omission, things that we should have done and didn't do, and things that we did do that we shouldn't have done. So
Right.
we had to each own and take responsibility for our own part, be repentant of it, and then ask each other for forgiveness. And a tremendous healing took place in our relationship because we did that.
You know, it's kind of interesting how we are, because you know, when we have someone offend us, boy, we want justice. We want God to get them, you know. Hey, teach them a lesson. Show them where they were wrong. But when we do it, we want mercy. We say, oh, God, give me mercy, give me mercy. Well, we need to have mercy on the people that offend us as well. And that's not an act of the flesh. That can be a choice. But the flesh does not want to give people mercy. You know, the flesh just wants vengeance. You know, I want to repay them. But God says, through me, you can do all things that strengthens you, and you can even forgive the unforgivable. And no matter how serious it is, you can forgive. Now, forgiveness, let me just say this. Forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. It just depends on what the situation is. But sometimes, you know, forgiveness means, you know, that things are not going to be the same, but I have forgiven you, that person.
So in the case of unfaithfulness, that would be that the person that was unfaithful needed to own and take responsibility for what they did, be repentant of it, and turn away from it, not keep doing it. Because
Absolutely.
If you forgave that and they continued to be unfaithful, you wouldn't necessarily, I mean, that's not going to build respect and reconciliation.
No, it doesn't. And that's where I think accountability isn't really important. And they've got software, you know, on the computers now, you know, that sends the maid an email whenever you're on a site that you shouldn't be on. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can really be accountable. I believe in accountability with other men that I meet with, and I'm accountable to them. And I tell them the real stuff. I tell them what's really going on with me. And I don't camouflage it and act like everything's just fine with me if it's not. I talk about real things, and they talk about real things with me. And see, I'm not only accountable to my wife, but I'm accountable to God, and I'm accountable to other people. Because there's a lot of people in ministry, especially full-time ministers, that are not accountable to anybody. And that's very dangerous, because, you know, or you might be behind a pulpit and nobody even knows what's going on inside of you. Maybe you're watching right now and you're a pastor and you think, oh man, I couldn't tell anybody what's really happening in my life. Well, that's when you need accountability with maybe one person that you can trust. And accountability, the only way that works is if we take everything into our heart and mind that the person is saying, and we keep it confidential. If we don't keep it confidential, then accountability will not work. Absolutely. You can't hear information and go blab it to everybody. And in fact, Christians sometimes are notorious about gossiping in a prayer request form. They'll tell other people, hey, would you pray for so-and-so because blah, blah, blah. And you're sharing things that you shouldn't even be sharing. But that's a whole different program. So anyway, you know, accountability is very, very important. So I think if there's been unfaithfulness, you really need to put yourself in accountability to not only your mate, but other people as well.
Okay, so the way you rebuild respect, what you're saying is to work through the things that you have resentments against.
Yes.
against each other for, that you need to have a voice. You need to talk through it. You need to get outside help, counseling if that's what's necessary. I think it's also good to have boundaries to take care of yourself. Often we don't realize how much we contribute to the problem. So it's taking responsibility for our own behavior, treating the other person with kindness and respect, even while we're working through things.
Right.
So let it begin with me, taking
Yes.
responsibility for myself. But also we need to have boundaries. So let's just say that you and I are having a conversation and we both start escalating. If you start being disrespectful to me, I can say, okay, I'm going to take a time out and I'll talk to you more about this when you can talk to me in a respectful way.
Right.
And that's with your tone of voice and words. And so I do not accept unacceptable behavior. I don't allow you to talk to me disrespectfully.
Right.
I draw a boundary to take care of myself and respect myself. And then we'll talk about it again when we can do it without escalating.
Well, and that's so critically important, because when you draw a boundary and you do not allow me or anyone to speak to you in a disrespectful way, that makes me or the other people respect you more.
Right, and I don't talk to you in a disrespectful way either.
No.
Because if I start out the conversation angry and accusatory, it's not going to rise above what the first few sentences were like. So I need to start out with that kindness and respect. Ephesians 4:32 says, "Be ye kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, just as Christ forgave you." But also Ephesians 4:29 is about how we talk to each other. So we're supposed to not let any unwholesome talk come out of our mouth, but only that which is good for edifying each other. And so is what I'm saying edifying, or is it tearing things down?
Right. And boy, the minute that conversation starts, if it's going to be edifying or if it's retaliation or just another way of putting you down. And if that starts to happen, you need to draw a boundary and say, nope, we're not going to talk any further. Let's talk about this at another time. And, I tell people, you're too valuable, and so am I, to be spoken to in a disrespectful way.
Right.
And then you call a timeout, like you said, and pick it up at another time. And if that time starts out again and goes south, then you call it another timeout. I had one person tell me one time they had to call 10 timeouts on one topic, and they thought, am I ever going to get through this, because I'm going to call so many timeouts? Well, that's a lot better than tolerating disrespect, because, I think disrespect can be like a virus. You've got to really nip that right off the bat, or else it's just going to grow and get worse and worse. And then you fall not only out of like with each other, but you fall out of love with each other. A lot of the counseling that I've done throughout the years is try to get couples to fall in like with each other. They didn't even like each other. So it's like, well, how can we really thrive in our love if we don't even like that person? But, it's hard to like somebody that's being disrespectful to you.
Right.
Yeah, saying horrible things, calling you names. Some people call people, names that are very disrespectful. They don't even think about it because it's a habit. And they've done it for so many years that they don't even think that that's disrespect, but it is. Call them by their name or call them something endearing.
Yes.
If you're going to refer to them. Don't call them horrible names, because I know I don't like to be, called names.
And that's abuse.
It is abuse. And maybe that's what you've been used to all of your life. Well, that's the way my parents did it. That's the way my siblings did it growing up. So that's the way I do it, bless God. Well, bless God. You need to bless God by changing your verbiage and changing the way you talk to your kids and talking to your your significant other. That's very, very important. You know, resentment is something that makes us be hindered in our growth. You want to stunt your growth, just be disrespectful. But if you want your relationships of any kind to thrive and to bloom the way God intended it to bloom, like a flower, God intended us to bloom, and thrive. But if we're being disrespectful, it's just gonna deteriorate and just die, and it's gonna completely. It's just waiting for somebody to pronounce the time of death, basically.
Right.
So why wait for that? Why not work on, like Barb said, taking your responsibility, taking the responsibility for you, and not waiting for the other person to respond to you, but you be the one to make the first step.
Let it begin with me.
Let it begin with you. And God will help you do that. And boy, our time's gone again. Oh my goodness, it goes so fast. But if you want us to pray for you, get on our website and fill out a prayer request, and we will definitely pray for you. If you want to press like, subscribe, and share on this program, we really appreciate that as well. And if you want to donate, you can donate to our ministry. We really appreciate that. God bless you, and we will look forward to seeing you next time.
If you are blessed by this ministry, please subscribe, like, and share. You can also make donations at chucklewisministries.com. Join us to keep uncovering the tools to build better relationships together. Let's do this again next week.